Hello and welcome or welcome back to the Import Export Hub channel, everybody. Bikes Bogdan here, your host for the next couple of minutes. Thanks for joining me, by the way. I hope everybody is doing well. And guys, without prolonging this intro too much, allow me to start covering Serbia's export dynamics for the 2019-2023 timeframe, with a focus on the top and bottom 20 headings that saw the largest absolute changes in 2023, while towards the end of the video, I will also show you Serbia's top 20 headings that had the smallest variability for the previously mentioned time frame, with the coefficient of variation relative to the exported values as a proxy for my analysis. But more on this later. So first things first, allow me to show you Serbia's largest absolute positive changes in 2023. And as we can see here, together, electrical energy, so heading to 716, so the largest absolute positive change. We're talking about some $977 million. Copper followed with some $329 million, while insulated wires, so heading 8544, took the third spot with a positive change around $291 million, which is a 15.5% year-on-year change, which is also coupled with a very nice 7.7% compound annual growth rate for the last 5 years, which is impressive if you ask me. And of course, the list goes on with, I don't know, electric motors and generators, for example, who saw a positive change of almost $184 million. Sorry. Air or vacuum pumps followed immediately. Then we see the covert heading 9999, so commodities not elsewhere specified. Seats, whether or not convertible into beds, follows. Then we see, I don't know, electronic integrated circuits, parts thereof, with a positive change around $66 million. And towards the end of the list, we see mineral or chemical phosphatic fertilizers. Waters is on the 18th spot, heading 8536 is on the 19th spot, while heading 8537, so boards, panels, consoles, and the like ends this top 20 list with an absolute positive change of almost $52 million, coupled with a impressive 35.5% compound annual growth rates, again for the last 5 years. And guys, quickly looking at the data here, two export oriented clusters emerge, if you want, which are related to chapter 85 and chapter 84. The former related to electrical machinery and the latter to mechanical ones, and combined, the exported values of these two chapters surpassed the $5 billion mark. Then we see some commodity-related headings like, I don't know, electrical energy, copper, or fertilizers. So just 3 headings. Okay, let's say 4 if we consider the covert one as well. So 9999, which is not worrying, meaning that Serbia is an important export platform for the EU market, especially for those working in a gray area when it comes to avoiding sanctions, but I won't tell you more. Anyways, what other info can I squeeze out of this data? Well, if I'm looking carefully, almost all of the top 20 headings saw their biggest values in 2023, except for just 2 headings. And what is more interesting is the value of the compound annual growth rates for these headings, which are pretty impressive. In fact, we have just one heading in this list which is slightly negative, while others are pretty impressive. And take a look at the lines in bold, which corresponds to chapter 85. Almost all 6 have double-digit compound annual growth rates, which is again really impressive. impressive. So guys, anyways, these were Serbia's largest absolute positive changes, and now I will show you the largest absolute negative ones, and the winner in this category is heading 2603. So I'm talking about copper ores and concentrates, with a yearly contraction of hold on, $451 million. Flat roll products of iron or non-alloy steel followed with a contraction around $184 million, and finishing the podium, let's say, is heading 1005, maize or corn, with $145 million contraction, and the list goes on with wheat and mesclun, for example. Organic surface active agents is also present with a contraction of almost $71 million. Polymers of ethylene in primary forms is next. Then we have bars and rods, again of iron or non-alloy steel, with a contraction of $49 million. And towards the end of this top 20 list, we have plates, sheets of plastics, heading 3921. Paper and paperboard is next with almost $34 million contraction. And on the 20th spot, we see fruit juices, so heading 2009 with a contraction of $28 million. So again, quickly looking at the data here, we see some big yearly volatilities in what concerns the headings related to commodities, from copper ores to wheat or maize. And it shouldn't be surprising, guys, no, so nothing worrying here. But what is worrying, if you ask me, is the negative compound annual growth rate for heading 8705. So cars, where Serbia, if I remember correctly, has a joint venture with Fiat-Stellantis to be more precise, and it seems that the collaboration is not bearing fruits anymore. There were some frictions, let's say, and the current situation is highly uncertain. Otherwise, even though we are looking at the largest contraction in a point in time, so 2023 in this case, if we're widening our analysis, the situation is not critical, and it's just a cycle, except maybe in what concerns Fiat's future in Serbia. So these were the largest absolute negative changes, and leaving behind these uncertainties, let's say, let's take a look at Serbia's headings that had the smallest variability for this 2019-2023 interval. A starting point in analyzing Serbia's competitive advantage, and the heading that had the smallest variability is 1211. So we are talking about plants and parts of plants, including seeds and fruits, with a coefficient of variation of 0.035 and an overall export figure for 2023 around $8.2 million. Cheese and the curd follows. I wouldn't have expected this, with some $54.5 million worth of exports overall, and a coefficient of variation of 0.0366. And again, closing the podium is heading 8413, so pumps for liquids, with a coefficient of variation of 0.0378. And hold on, guys, an export value for 2023 of almost $269 million, the largest amount in this top 20 list. Then we see mineral wools with almost $23 million worth of exports in 2023, and a coefficient of variation of 0.0386. What else do we see here? Sanitary towels, for example. Footwear with outer soles of rubber or plastics is also present. We see aluminium foil, for example, chain and parts thereof of iron or steel is also present. While towards the end of the list, we see paper and paperboard heading 4811 with a coefficient of variation of 0.0697. Electric, instantaneous or storage water heaters is on the 19th spot, while heading 6403. Sorry, guys. So basically another heading, footer heading is ending this top 20 list with some $121 million worth of exports. And as we can see here, it has a coefficient of variation of 0.0709. So what does the data tells us? Firstly, we see 5 clusters related to chapters 12, 84, 68, 64, and 73, each with 2 headings. The most important one in terms of values being chapter 84 with a cumulative export value of some $274 million. And then we see a couple of niche clusters, let's say, relating to the other chapters. The most important one being chapter 48, so the paper one, with some $239 million worth of exports, basically the second largest amount in this top 20. So this is the first comment, and another one would be related to the compound annual growth rates, again for the last 5 years. And okay, we have a couple of negative values, but if we look closely, the values are not at all worrying. But in a scenario where I would be forced to pick one sector to keep my eye on, it would be the footwear one. Otherwise, Serbia managed pretty well to diversify its exports, or at least provided the framework for the European companies to establish manufacturing and assembly plants in Serbia, so that they can be exported to the European Union with 0% tariffs, thanks to the Stabilization and Association Agreement between the European Union and Serbia, dating back in 2008. So guys, with this being said, that's it for today. Thank me by hitting those small vanity buttons, and as usual, until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.